Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's SLSO Stories live event. If you're familiar with our Lunch and Learn series from last season, don't worry, you're in the right place. We're broadening the scope of these conversations and putting them under the new heading of Stories Live. These are virtual events that let us go deep with musicians and experts on a specific topic. I'm Tim Munro, creative partner with the SLSO, and today we're getting a behind the curtain look at the 2021-2022 season with music director Stéphane Denève, president and CEO Marie-Hélène Bernard, and vice president and general manager Erik Finley. But first, a housekeeping thing. Please do ask questions using the chat function at the bottom of the screen. Make sure your message is sent to both panelists and attendees. It's going to be an action-packed hour, but I'm absolutely going to get to lots of audience comments and questions. I particularly want to know what concerts and guest artists are you looking forward to in this season, and what pieces from this season would you recommend to a Powell Hall newcomer, a classical newbie? Special thanks to the SLSO's 2021-2022 Classical Series sponsor, the Stewart Family Foundation. And this SLSO Stories live event is sponsored by Washington University physicians. And I'm delighted to welcome the SLSO's dream team of MH, Stéphane and Erik. Welcome, all of you. It is lovely to see your faces.
Hello.
Great to see you, Tim. Hi, everyone.
So I wanted to actually just start off with imagining what it will be like to be back in the hall. I just feel like the hall is warm with all of us and the musicians of the orchestra and the wonderful audience in it. So I wonder, what will it feel like? What are you anticipating? What are you thinking about as you imagine being back in the hall with the audience? Maybe we'll start with you, Marie-Hélène.
It will feel safe. So we are, as you know, we gave live concerts last season with limited audiences in programs that were, reduced in time and reduced in forces. So we are really going back to a more regular season. So we are ready. And so it's going to feel safe. I think it's going to be deeply emotional for all of us because we live for music and we support what we believe is one of the most extraordinary orchestras in the country. So to have our artists, our musicians on stage back to give back to our community is deeply meaningful.
And just as a quick note, where can people find information on the COVID protocols for the
It's on the
SLSO?
website. Yes, it's on the website and it's right on the main page as they go visit slso.org. And then as they book tickets or get emails from our team in advance of concerts, they will be reminded of protocols and safety procedures, and our team is trained. As you know, there's a mask mandate in the city, so we will require everyone to wear a mask upon entering the hall. But overall, we are ready, and rehearsals have begun for programs, and so we're very excited to welcome everyone back. And there's great enthusiasm from subscribers and ticket buyers. The box office has been ready and very busy, so we are excited.
That's wonderful. Stéphane, you were leaning in to answer that question and I interrupted you. Tell us, what is it going to be like?
I tried to be elegant and let Marianne speak first, women first. But indeed, I wanted to jump on it because I do know the answer, actually. And the answer is that it will be like Christmas, birthday, every celebration you can imagine, all packed in one because we will be together. And all the family, the full orchestra will be on stage and our audiences. And we have such a beautiful hall. And the fact that we will be able to really start this season in full forces in both sides of the hall, this is really, really, really a great joy.
And what about you, Erik?
Yeah, I really think it's gonna feel like the reuniting of a family in a way. You know, we've had some part of our family missing at all time, whether it was not having the full audience there or not having our soloist friends on stage with us or not having a complete program and being able to see one another at an intermission, for example. So I really think it'll feel like a family reunion in a way.
Oh, I love that. So we have safety, we have love, and we have family. It's like a beautiful thing coming together. Well, okay, so the institution is bouncing back in a certain way of speaking. And I wonder, Stéphane, you have talked about this season as being sort of guided by the notion of resilience. And I wonder if you can talk a little bit about what that means to you, what that word means to you, and how does that relate to music?
The fact is, when we planned this season, we were dreaming. We were dreaming that it would be possible to be again on stage playing in big forces. And we had then this feeling of heroism, this feeling that then if we are all reunited again as a family, we would have shown our power of resilience as a community, as a group together. And so we wanted to speak about that and to express that. And with Erik, with Marie-Hélène, with Jan Kivler, we had a lot of meetings trying to see what could be the right feeling, you know, and that's why we have many pieces at the start of the season that actually really speak about resilience, speak about triumph over struggle, and to start with, you know, the Tchaikovsky Fourth Symphony is certainly a symbol of that, because this symphony starts with this very strong theme of fatum, of fate, you know, that is this note that is repeated, you know, obsessively, showing that we struggle. And then the symphony just has a fantastic journey that goes into an incredible, very triumphant ending. And we will have the same kind of journey as well, in a very different style, very other inspiring style, with Beethoven Fifth Symphony, etc., etc. So we wanted to really express this feeling of resilience together, and that we can really congratulate each other, basically, and celebrate that.
That's wonderful. And there, as you say, there are so many different programs throughout the season that touch on that. Even things like a program that you won't be directing, Stéphane, but that has a Haydn symphony that is subtitled "The More, you know, Time Changes Us," essentially.
Exactly.
And that, you know, there's ways to interact with this music as just purely as music, but also it's wonderful that it can tell this story that we've sort of been experiencing. MH, I wanted to sort of see on the institutional side, like the resilience, the bouncing back. It feels like the institution is in good health. Is that, do we feel comfortable? Should we feel comfortable that after this incredibly tough period that the institution itself is bouncing back?
Absolutely. And I like the term evolution, and Erik and Stéphane have discussed this sense that we are keeping a long-term view. The pandemic will be a moment in history, and it's one that we've all experienced globally, which is very unique. I hope in my lifetime, this is the only time I experienced this sort of crisis. So I would say that the organization chose to focus on remaining creative and be of service to our community of artists, of listeners, and the St. Louis region community. So definitely coming out, and we have to live with this, right? We know the pandemic is this is still a factor, this is still going on, and we're adjusting accordingly. But I'm continuing to be impressed with how the institution, our board, our musicians, our team internally, our volunteers have really come together to create extraordinary musical experiences and continue that sense of evolution that we are carrying through with music, and never letting things we can't control prevent that creative spirit, which is so essential to our mission. You know, I always think of the SLSO as a creator, a performer, an educator, and a connector. And I think we took those four very essential components of being very seriously. We said, we're creators, so we're going to continue to create. We're performers, so we'll find ways to perform. Educating, where our children, our teachers, our parents are so instrumental to our mission. And finally, connector, that we all share this love of music and come together. So indeed, to answer your question fully, yes, the institution is artistically very healthy. very creative, looking ahead. And also, as we discussed, the power of philanthropy, which covers 2/3 of our budget, is real. And this is truly the story of this pandemic, is that the generosity of our donors have enabled the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra to stay financially strong. We will have deficits, it's inevitable, but still we are coming out of this crisis and entering this season with much needed charitable spirit from all of you who are on this Zoom today, but also continuing to really build the foundation of our institution on philanthropy.
I love that sense, music forward. Music
Yes.
is always forward. Music is always at the front. And
Yes.
Erik, I just wanted to, because we're talking about this kind of this evolution, there is another element to the institution that has grown during this time, which is the digital side. And I wonder if you can just like mention a little bit for those who haven't been able to enjoy the digital concerts yet, how that is kind of like becoming part of this way of connecting with our community in the world.
Sure, and it's been that's been a real journey for us. It's something that we were talking about pre-pandemic, and then we put the accelerator pedal to the floor as soon as the pandemic rolled in. And you know, it's this institution's commitment to accessibility is something that every one of us who before we came here has known about for a long time. The deep commitment to accessibility, whether it's the orchestra's work outside of Powell Hall, in educational institutions, on tour, that sort of thing, the idea that we come to you as well, it's just an extension of that, really. And that there's a whole nother audience out there that loves the St. Louis Symphony. And in some cases, it's our own audience, that it's just another way to maybe enjoy a concert that you want to relive, that you had a fantastic experience with and you want to revisit. But we really responded to it, and our musicians responded beautifully during the pandemic with the installation of this incredible 8-camera HD 4K robotic. How many fancy technological words can I offer here? In the hall, and it's just really opened up a whole new world for us. And now it becomes talking about how we program for this new capacity, not just this is something that we're doing in the place of being able to live concertize for everyone, but the relationship between how we live in the digital realm and how we live in the live realm, and really how we can just be a better service to our audiences and our community.
I love it. Do you feel like a kid in a candy store sometimes with these new little capabilities?
We do. We have lots of toys. I tell you, our stage crew, our production crew, they really, really love it. And we have this whole wonderful digital team now. And you know, it feels like a little kind of startup in a way of another side of our business. So it has been a lot of fun for everyone.
That's wonderful. And I know just from glancing association with that side of it, that it just like, I know you guys have put in so much work and are really ramping up, you know, really learning on the go. Talking about kids in candy stores, Stéphane, I often think of your job as like kind of a kid in a candy store, being able to sort of select the friends you want to bring into this family and bring aboard. And this season we have a bunch of new collaborators and friends. And of course, top of those is Nikolai Sheps-Snyder. So I immediately see your face light up. He's just like one of those people who can sort of, it feels like he can kind of do everything.
Yeah, he's very special. He's a dear friend since many years. And he's very, very, very famous as being one of the very, very top violinist in this world, and he's very difficult to get because he's so much in demand. And it is the first time this season that he will actually play the violin for us and play the Sibelius violin concerto, which is a piece we've done many times together. And I mean, he's extraordinary. Word fail to tell you how incredible it is, and the richness of his sound is so special. But on top of it, he became the last, I would say, 15 years, a world-class conductor as well. And he came to our orchestra as a conductor first, actually, and now he's the music director of the Orchestre National de Lyon, who was actually, he took over, he succeeded somebody that we know very well, our dear friend Leonard Slatkin, who was the music director in Lyon. So it's all a family affair. And he will come for 2 weeks, and he will do everything. Indeed, he will conduct his own program for 1 week, and he will play the other week with myself conducting the Sibelius Concerto, and in between he will do some chamber music concert with our musicians. So we'll have all of this talent: chamber music, conducting, violin, and certainly a lot of good laughter and good dinners as well, because he's a really bigger than life personality.
What will you eat with him? What does he like to eat?
He actually has a very, very big appetite, and we always speak together that we should do more sport and eat less. But he kind of is a bit like me. He's really an omnivore, I'm afraid. And so we have been touring together a few times, actually, in Asia, also in America as well. And we visited many different restaurants, and I think he doesn't have a very specific food that he likes. I do think we shared some very strong steak together, and we like it the same way. Very, very true.
That's wonderful. We have some comments in the chat, and I just encourage people to suggest some of the concerts and artists they're looking forward to. And I really would like to know, and I'm going to ask the panelists, what piece from this season would they recommend to a complete classical newbie? I have my own answer in my brain, but I want to hear from some of the experts. So a couple of the comments that someone would let's see, who is that? John would love to hear the Erik Satie's Gymnopédie. What's the closest to the Satie Gymnopédie on this season, do you think, Stéphane? What's a piece that takes you to that very quiet place?
Nocturne, maybe the first piece of the Nocturne of Debussy, which is Nuages, Clouds. And actually also because if indeed we play the Gymnopédie in the future season, actually it will be in the orchestration of Debussy, because it was written for piano, and it's only Debussy that did a beautiful orchestration of the Gymnopédie 1 and 3. So I would think I would advise to come listen to the wonderful nocturnes, and the first piece is maybe the closest to this atmosphere.
I love that. And touching on that particular program makes me think of the chorus, who are coming in the second half of the season. And Marie-Hélène, I would love you to at least a little reflect on the journey and impact of Amy Kaiser, the chorus director, who will be retiring at the end of this season.
Yes, tremendous. She's into, I think, her 27th season. Her plan was to retire last season, but we wanted to give the institution a true opportunity to recognize her amazing contributions, artistic spirit. So we have planned for the chorus to be back in the wintertime in this season. And I think it's hard to summarize Amy's contributions, but she is really family. And I know that she will remain family after she steps down as director of chorus. Her commitment, her story, itself as an artist is fascinating, but also the many contributions she's made in the community. She's an extraordinary lecturer. She really has education and learning as a commitment, which we value as well. And I think she shaped and built an extraordinary ensemble and has had a great relationship with every single one of our music directors. And I know that she will be leaving having a sense of having completed one of the most impressive careers in choral music and symphonic choral music in the country. We love Amy, and I know that this is a sentiment many people today share on this Zoom.
Yeah, Erik, do you have any other comments about Amy? I just think of her as someone who I was so nervous about meeting because I had heard the chorus and was so impressed and was like, who is this badass, like take no prisoners person? And then she's just so generous and music forward.
Yes.
Well, Stéphane was talking about food omnivores. I would call Amy a musical omnivore. This is one of the things that I love about her, is that really she has embraced every facet of this organization. She's not just our chorus director. She lectures, she loves opera, she loves music theater, she loves all of the symphonic repertoire. Her eyes light up whenever she hears a new piece for the first time, or here's an old piece alongside something that she hasn't heard before, in an old piece in a new program, in new bottles, so to speak. And I just love that Amy is so deeply connected to this organization, knows our musicians, knows their families, knows our patrons, and really she is Miss St. Louis Symphony. And I just can't imagine this organization without her.
I love that. Miss St. Louis Symphony. It's a very good title. She comes to rehearsal sometimes, just for the fun of it, just because she loves music and she wants to hear it. And, myself, I'm a little bit like a chef sometimes. I like to prepare some musical meal, and I only want people to just say, how good it is. And she has also a great capacity to express enthusiasm, pleasure, which is so communicative. And sometimes she will even gratify us of some steps of tap dancing, because she also does that very well. So yes, it's really a kind of Miss St. Louis is Amy Kaiser. I agree.
That's wonderful. And her as a sort of enthusiastic communicator touches on one of the comments in the chat that Elise says that that Amy's show is very on Classic 107.3 is very enjoyable. So a great call out for that. Check out the Classic 107.3 website. Some other comments. We're starting to get some great recommendations for newbies. A couple of recommendations for Beethoven. One to recommend this weekend's concert, which we can't not mention, and also New Year's. Actually, just touching on this weekend's concert, Stéphane, can you have a couple of words to say about what we'll be looking forward to?
So for the season, you mean, or for this next weekend?
This coming weekend.
Sunday.
I'm sorry, this Sunday's preview concert. I framed that incredibly poorly.
Oh, no. Look, speaking about being a chef, or a cook at least, I do love this idea of igniting the palate with some amuse-bouche. And that's exactly what the preview will be. We'll play a lot of excerpts from the season, quite short. And the idea is just to tease people and get them extremely frustrated to not hear more. And we'll have some of the most exciting piece, an excerpt from Firebird, an excerpt from the Brahms First Symphony, from Beethoven 5, from Tchaikovsky 4, from La Péri, the fanfare of La Péri, and some more. I forgot something from John Williams, of course, that we love. And so that's the idea is to just have people wanting to hear more.
I'm it's like my palate is my tongue is wetted. My mouth is wet. I can't think of the right expression. I'm so excited.
It's
some
like
more
a chef's tasting for $15.
What do you say?
It's like a chef's tasting menu for $15. I mean, you really can't beat it.
That's wonderful. Yeah, so bring somebody who has never heard the St. Louis Symphony. Somebody who never thought that they would be at home in Powell Hall. I think that it sounds like they'll have a wonderful time. I want to touch on some new members of the SLSO family. There's a few composers who we're welcoming into the fold this year. Stéphane, I wonder if you can talk a little bit about developing a relationship with Jesse Montgomery and James Lee III, both of whom have never really been on, I don't think they've been on any SLSO program before, but
Well,
now have multiple pieces and longer relationships.
Well, we performed actually a Starburst during the COVID time
Right.
a year ago, which is a fabulous, very exciting, energetic, and colorful piece that she wrote. And she's a phenomenal young composer. And I met her in New York a few years ago. And she's also a lovely person, by the way. And it's wonderful to see her just exploding. And she will be the compositor in residence now in Chicago Symphony, which is really quite something. And luckily, we have a world premiere of her, which is her orchestral version of Starburst, which we'll do at the very end of this coming season. But she will also offer us also the piano concerto that will be as well during the season. And I must say she's a new voice that I think is ready to become a classic, and that's what I look for. I really always search for some new music that can stand the test of time and become repertoire in the future. And I think that's really the case for her. And actually, I have to thank Erik, who knew James Lee III before me, and said, you should really listen to his music. That's very special. And indeed, I will listen to everything actually of his music, and selected 2 different pieces. And the first one we'll play will fit extremely well the kind of resilience theme of the start of the season, because it's called Emotive Transformations, and it speaks about the healing of loss. And in his case, it was about losing his father, and the piece is dedicated to his father. And it's very beautiful to see how music always can accompany your soul in those moments. It's very, very decisive moment in life, and can help you to indeed see the light again.
Mm. Tim, you probably saw it, there was an article recently in the New York Times. It was an interview profile of Jesse Montgomery. It was very interesting. We can probably try to share it with the group today.
Yeah, Vic, I think Vicky will probably be able to track it down to put it in the chat.
2 or 3 weeks ago, and she was making interesting reflections on music today, and it was a very interesting, very thoughtful piece on her and her emerging in recent years.
That's great.
And we start, by the way, the season with the 3rd piece of her, which is Banner, and which is a very, very meaningful piece, trying to imagine what would be the anthem of the 21st century. And she's mixing a lot of references, the Pledge of Allegiance, the regular American anthem, I mean, United States anthem, but with other anthems from different other countries. And it's also very interesting to see how she can just bring the political debate in music without sacrificing on the quality of the music. If you didn't know what it was about, you would just enjoy this piece, but on top of it, there is a meaning. And I think that is something very important today, that we can definitely show that you can, in music, just have the pure pleasure of the musical form, of the sounds, but they can also carry some messages. And that's also one of the aspects of this season. And, you know, also with many pieces that are connected to the dance and to the narrative. And for me, music can always bring more than just the musical pleasure. It can also make you think and make you reflect and discuss, create the dialogue.
Dialogue. That is a word that I know so much from you, Stéphane, and it's a wonderful way to bring music into real life in a certain way. So many many wonderful comments, and a couple of them actually bring up a question for Erik about some other guest artists. One of the commenters, Matthew, says, we have amazing pianists playing this season. Mentions that I can't wait to hear Vikingur Olafsson. I wonder if maybe, Erik, you can touch on a few of the guest artists that are new, a few of the pianists specifically.
Sure. The pianist, I mean, old friends, folks like Kirill Gerstein, Jean-Yves Thibaudet, Stéphane's dear friend who had a slightly interrupted artisan residence with us in the 1920 season. So we're bringing him back for a couple of weeks. Fima Bronfman returning after his fantastic debut of our new piano, not his debut with us, but returning for Titanic Rachmaninoff Third Piano Concerto. So that will be very, very exciting. But Vikinger indeed is a very special artist that is really just sort of exploded internationally in the past decade even. Icelandic pianist. And speaking of musical omnivores, this is another one. Someone that just seems to have an interest in everything and seems to find inspiration from all types of music, all composers. So that will be a really, really exciting debut. Ingrid Fleeter returning to us, an old friend of the orchestra. And Stéphane, who am I forgetting?
Lars Vogt, Jeremy Denk, Aurélien Pat. I mean,
Alain Grimaud.
It is really an incredible lineup of soloists this season. But not only the pianist, of course, the violinists as well. We have a fabulous lineup with, Adelish and so many, Akiko Suwanai, and that is actually really a fabulous thing that you spoke before. That we need to move forward, and I'm so grateful that Marie-Hélène and Erik and all the team actually have been able to keep afloat the finances that we can afford all those very in-demand stars. This is really first-class rate soloists all along the season. So yeah, that will be something special.
I love that. And you mentioned violin and people who can do lots of things. And one of the most interesting, curious, just almost provocative guest artist this season is Dimitri Sitkovetsky, who is both an acclaimed concert violinist, but not just that, a countertenor and a conductor. So Erik or Marie-Hélène or Stéphane, how did you come upon this amazing kind of shooting star for that program? And just so he will be performing some concert arias by Vivaldi, I gather, but also conducting Mozart's Requiem, and playing violin as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Erik, maybe.
Dimitri Sitkovetsky.
Sitkovetsky.
Sitkovetsky is a violinist. Sitkovetsky is everything. He does everything. I let Erik answer you.
No, we heard about this artist, and it was one of those that whenever you saw it on paper the first time, I went, really? He conducts, he sings, and he's a violinist. And we called our dear colleagues in Detroit to say, tell us about this. What did the program look like? And they really said, you're not going to believe this. He is an equally phenomenal on all fronts, and really you're going to have to pick up the audience's jaws off the floor after he leaves the stage playing violin, comes back on for some encores as a countertenor, and we thought it'd be a really fun way. We're always looking, especially for new musicians to introduce to the orchestra that are specialists in early music, and he is one of those. And we thought it'd be a really fun way to actually bring the chorus back. This will be the symphony chorus's first concert in full force. So really looking forward to that, and I really think it's one of those not to be missed weeks here.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he's the director of the La Voce Strumentali, I think, in Moscow. I don't know him at all, and I'm pretty connected to the world of early music, and I had never heard of him. So I think it's very recent years that he's emerged in America as a leading force. So we look forward to it. And the Requiem is a work the chorus knows well, so it's going to be interesting to see how this comes together.
Lots of exciting stuff of his on YouTube and Spotify if our audiences want to whet their appetites. So.
Yes.
I love it. That's brilliant. I'm so excited about that. Well, there's a few comments in the chat about retirements, and I just want to point there are a few articles that I wrote for SLSO Stories .org about the retirements of Tom Stubbs and Mark Sparks and also Sylvian, their retirements. Yeah, and I wonder if maybe one of you can reflect on some of the contributions they've made, because between the three of them, they represent, 110 years, 120 years of...
150, yes, probably. Tom was over, 55 years. Sylvian was 45 years. And Mark was at least 20.
Yeah.
Right, it's around 2000, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
It's the life of an orchestra. It's changed personnel rather slowly. For an orchestra of almost 100 people, you have only a few every year that did retire or sometimes leave the orchestra. And what it makes is that it carries a certain idea of the soul of an orchestra that it's so slowly evolving and in its personnel. And what is beautiful is that those three persons actually are so special, so talented, and I see them go certainly with a lot of mixed emotion, because I'm very happy for them, of course, to embrace a new life, but they will be very, very missed, but their soul is still in the orchestra. It's for sure there is something that they contributed that will stay, because when you play for so long in an orchestra, you just you don't know what is hen and egg, who makes what, and actually you really influence the orchestra influence you, and at the end it's a part of the musical life of the orchestra that is really still in the sound of the orchestra even when they leave. So they are definitely three great musicians that will be missed.
Yeah, and I would add to what Stéphane said is that it's always difficult to see them leave, because they carry the memory of this institution and the history. These musicians experience things and I think they take it very seriously as an orchestra, the role they have to transfer that knowledge, whether it's the historical knowledge or the musical. But there's one thing the institution began after I came, is I was very intentional about staying in touch with retirees after they leave the St. Louis Symphony. When you give your talent for 40, 50, even 20 years to an orchestra, it's moving away is a process, and we want to make sure that they remain part of the family. So we have a gathering every year where we invite them back, and they get together and with the orchestra, and we always have an open door so they can come to concerts. Some of them choose to stay in St. Louis, others move on to other cities. But I think the importance of legacy is something that I personally cherish, and I think it's very, very important in the culture of an orchestra.
And I don't want to forget, of course, our principal librarian.
Yes.
Oh, of course.
Who is speaking about history of the orchestra. She's really been, in the core, because she worked on the scores that are every week, on the stand of the musicians, and it starts there. It starts with the music, and she has been for so many years really the best librarian in the world. She's so loved, and she's so efficient and so thorough. And yes, this is also a difficult thing to see her leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, librarians, always the unsung silent voices that are powering to some extent the ability for the orchestra to play so much behind the scenes.
And they keep all the secrets.
I love that. That's wonderful. Okay, so we still have about 10 or 15 minutes or so for people to ask more questions. I would love to touch on the Crafted series, which is going to be returning again. Can you maybe Erik and Stéphane talk a bit about how that went last last pre-COVID season, and why you're thinking of continuing it?
Sure, I'm happy to start. Sadly, with 1920 season cut short, we just got to have one of these, but it was really a heck of a party, a lot of fun. Anyone that's heard Stéphane talk from the podium before concerts, if you weren't at this event, there's really a good chunk of time to really dive into as Marie-Hélène just said, the secrets of these pieces that we play, and especially the core repertoire. So Stéphane picks apart the work and talks a little bit about the orchestra plays examples, talks a little bit about the composer. It's really kind of a fun behind the scenes, and then the audiences get a complete performance of the piece, all within an hour. It's a great way to enjoy kind of a happy hour with the orchestra. We did this with lots of artisans from the food and beverage community here in St. Louis last time. We'll have to tailor that back a little bit to make sure that we keep everyone safe, but we'll still have the same experience on stage and still enjoy some beverages and a happy hour together with this series. That is something that we hope continues to grow and be another type of way to experience the St. Louis Symphony.
Yeah, and Stéphane, you've often talked about how much you love the idea of, being sort of in the room with people, playing for them, talking to them about the music, sharing that love. Is that sort of what SLSO Crafted allows you to do? Is that sort of intimacy? Is it a different...
Well, I hope that's what we do actually at each concert, and I love to address the audience just briefly anyway at the start of each concert, just to indeed enter in this feeling of sharing. But in Crafted, I have a little bit more time to do that in details with examples, and I love that because I hate snobism. I hate the feeling that you cannot admit that you don't know something. I think it's wonderful when you don't know something, because you will have the pleasure to learn something, and it's one of the most exciting things in life is to feel enriched and learn something new. So this is really the spirit, is really all you wanted to know about a piece without even daring to ask, if you know what I mean. So it's just a very easy, relaxed way to enjoy more a piece, knowing indeed some secrets or some reasons why it's composed like that, and pointing at a few things to listen particularly, which even people who know a piece very well would maybe not sometimes still not know. We can always learn something, at whatever level of understanding we have of the music. So that's very relaxed for me, and very warm, like it's very what St. Louis is.
And what I like about how Stéphane does it, and I know you will both agree, is he makes us listen to a piece with different ears. Oftentimes when Stéphane, you approach what we call, core repertoire, I've been so impressed that of course I know the piece, and then you have me listen to it like for the first time, because I hear colors and textures that oftentimes I haven't heard before. And I think Crafted is a great platform for that, to make us pause and not intellectually process that we know this piece, but yet to be completely letting go and letting him tell us of his own interpretation of the work. I love that.
But I see in the comments, of course, a lot of people very smartly saying, well, maybe for a newbie, Beethoven Fifth Symphony, because people recognize at least something of it. I mean, at least the very beginning, and maybe the romanticism of the Greek piano concerto as a direct access, to anybody who may not know classical music. But in a way, I would like to say that there is another opportunity, which is great, is when everybody is in the same case, which is discovering a new piece. Even if you have a great experience of classical music, many recordings at home, if you've been to hundreds of concerts, when it's a new piece, it's just a new piece, and you don't know it like everybody else. And this season, I'm extremely proud because we have actually 26 pieces from living composers, and a lot of them played for the very first time. I mean, the world premiere, but also the premiere at the orchestra for sure. And and those pieces are accessible, are speaking about our time, are often very much reflecting the zeitgeist, the spirit that we are in, and in a way, I think it's actually very attractive to say, come listen to something new, because that's something we will discover together, and then we can speak some more. And my wife, for instance, if I may say, who before I met her was a pop and rock chick and just definitely not knowledgeable at all about classical music. She actually has a fantastic taste about new music, and she very often way prefer to discover a piece of today than actually some of the very well-known, blockbusters of the repertoire. And I like that. So just never hesitate to bring your friends that maybe don't know so much of classical music to music of our time, because you'll be equal toward it.
And I think, and Tim, I think for that reason, Stéphane's first program on September 25th, 26th, I think it's a beautiful summary of his own vision and a great way to introduce new audiences. And you have a collaboration with local artists, which is really great.
Yeah, yes. And just that sense. Actually, my wife's a musical theater chick, and her love for classical music entirely comes out of things that are as new to my ears as to hers, and I think that's a beautiful way. And I was Marie-Hélène, you absolutely stole my my own piece that I wanted to introduce newbies to, which is Anna Klein's piece Dance on that first program. Because again, I think it ticks all those boxes, but it also is just beautiful in no matter where you come from, what your experience is, I mean, it is just radiant. So maybe now is a good time to touch on some pieces that you all think your kind of like top picks that might be for classical newbies or people who haven't come to Powell Hall. Erik, we haven't heard from you for a little while. What would you choose?
For newbies, Tim, I think I'm gonna go for it, because if you're gonna have a sort of all-in-one experience, you got to go with a composer that thought that the world should be encompassed in a symphony. And I really do believe that if you're going to have an introduction to Mahler, it should be the First Symphony. And it's one of those that you tell somebody that they're going to hear a 55, 60-minute symphony for their first go. It maybe sounds like a bad idea, but I promise it's not. There's really, it's just incredible. And having seen Stéphane do this piece, it's going to be a really exciting way to end. The only bad news about that is if a newbie waits until the very end of the season to come hear a piece, we can't get them to come back many more times, which is going to be necessary. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to, but that's one that grabs my attention.
And I have to mention the fact that on that same program is a new work by Nathalie Joachim. That is a sort of, to go back to the notion of family, is very much about the family of the In Unison chorus on stage there with the SLSO.
Yep, that's the name of the piece, Family, and she's a wonderful composer and wonderful person, actually, really soul, and I'm extremely excited to have the In Unison chorus, which is such an important part of our family, on stage for a world premiere of this piece, indeed, with the Mahler First Symphony. That's an exciting, but I agree with Erik that actually we should not bring a newbie to the last concert. I will go with Dance of Anna Klein, also because it symbolizes what's happening now as well, which is the reunion of the arts. I so much believe that music is, something that mixes every feeling and sensations, and it should be as visual today to listen to music as oral, and we will have a collaboration with dancers from different companies, actually, of the community. So it's already a reunion of dancers of different backgrounds that will be together in a brand new choreography. First time there is a choreography on this piece, and this piece is indeed extremely beautiful. The first movement on Spotify just hit a few weeks ago 5 million viewers. I mean, not viewers, but listeners. And it's a great achievement, of course. And I think it will, I mean, get even higher because it's a masterwork, and it's so I would say Dance of Anna Klein. Just also to see that there is a future for our art form with new masterworks.
Mm-hmm.
Marie-Hélène.
Well, my first choice was Stéphane's first concert for the reasons we discussed.
Oh, right.
But then I would say bring them back, because in order to get the full experience, 3 concerts, is a good. I would invite them to come back to the November concert on November 27th, 28th, when we give a tribute to former music critic at the Post-Dispatch, Brian Miller. Beautiful work that we're going to perform for her in her memory and recognition of her extraordinary contributions. Most people will remember that she passed away on November 28th, 2020. And sadly, because of the pandemic, we could not do a tribute, which is coming in that November concert. Then later in the season, there are 2 programs that Stéphane is doing. I think Stéphane is a beautiful Brahms interpreter. So his Brahms First Symphony, I think. Brahms, I think, is so special. And especially when you're new to music, I think it's great music to listen to, especially with Stéphane and our orchestra.
I love that. Stéphane, does that round out your Brahms cycle? I'm not 100% sure where you are on the...
We recorded the 4th and the 2nd symphony, and now we will record the 1st now, and then we'll have still the 3rd symphony to play and record, and we have some ideas to mix it with some reflection of today about Brahms, from the kind of Brahms of today called Detlef Glanert, with for me the best German composer today, and he wrote some pieces reflecting on Brahms. We will play one indeed in January, which is this fantasy on Brahms by Detlef Glanert, and we'll play in future season as well some other pieces of his reflecting on the other symphony. So yes, I'm very much looking forward to continue this kind of cycle of Brahms symphonies with the SLSO.
I love it. And of course, we've gone almost an hour. There's so much more to talk about. We haven't even touched on the new resident conductor, Stephanie Childress, who will be working with the youth orchestra throughout the season. Please do try to get to a youth orchestra concert. I think every time there's a change in resident conductor, the voice of that organization changes, and the youth orchestra is filled with so much talent and so much engagement. Obviously, Live at Powell Hall has an entire season. Actually, Erik, do you have a highlight from the Live at Powell Hall season that you would touch on before we finish?
Well, this weekend, Kishibashi, very interesting artist that is worth hearing. Gorgeous vocalist, Aoife O'Donovan. And then, I always like it when the orchestra's on stage, but there's a very special group that I would call bluegrass chamber music that we are presenting in January called the Punch Brothers on the series. And that is a group worth hearing as well. So we believe all music is good music here. And I think it's really represented in the Live at Powell Hall series.
And we mentioned In Unison Chorus taking part on the main stage subscription series, but they're also performing in a number of ways throughout the season. Check the website. Kevin Macbeth just doing amazing work through the pandemic, and it'll be wonderful to have them back on stage again.
Several players from the St. Louis Symphony being featured also on key programs this season.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And in chamber music too, yeah.
Yes, we have seven musicians that will be featured as soloists of our orchestra, and that's also. I mean, last season we had also many of them playing solos, and the level is so high that we can always feature our musicians as in concertos, and we have concerto for harp. We have violin, of course, with David Hallen playing the Bolcom concerto, and we have the viola, with Beth and I mean Elizabeth Chung at the cello. I mean, we have just I hope I didn't forget too many, because we have indeed 7, and that's a very big part of the season as well, is to feature our own great talents in the orchestra. And I'm so looking forward to conduct the C Symphony of Vaughan Williams, which is an epic work. Another one. I'm afraid I would like a newbie to come to everything. To come to all the ballet music, for instance, that we do, the Romeo and Juliet, which will be so emotional. I can guarantee that. The Firebird, which is one of the most exciting pieces, maybe as well for a newbie. I mean, yes. I hope that every concert would do the job.
We might say an embarrassment of riches. Again, we could talk for another hour, but it's been so wonderful to spend time with the 3 of you today and with all of you out there. I want to thank our guests, Stéphane Denève, Marie-Hélène Bernard, and Erik Finley. And I want to thank the Stewart Family Foundation and Washington University Physicians for their support. And thank you all for joining us with questions and comments and suggestions. Just a quick note about some other SLSO goings on. If you'd like to hear some of the music that we talked about today, we invite you to the Sunday's season preview concert. As Stéphane was saying, it will whet your appetite. We also have several other exciting concerts coming up, including, as Erik mentioned, with musician Kishi Bashi, another featuring the music of Motown, and one of our annual favorites, the free Forest Park concert next Wednesday, the 22nd. For more information on those, visit slso.org and mark your calendars for the next SLSO Stories live event on Wednesday, October 13 at noon. Check your email inbox in the next week or 2 for an invitation with details. Now let's do the Zoom thing, wonderful people, and wave goodbye. Thank you all.
À bientôt. See you soon.
Thank you, Tim.
Bye. À bientôt.